Blizzard King. You're now rocking with Uncle D. Blizzard King. You're now rocking with Uncle D. Hit subscribe.
My guy, Uncle D. Tell him Big Bad sent you.
Spurling. I'm an attorney here in Houston, Texas, an advocate for black men, largely because I am a black man. I'm a black father. I have black sons. Hey, man, I do what I do.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the broadcast. This is Dennis Spurling, and this is the Dennis Spurling podcast, and I'd like to welcome everybody here. Big shout out to all the good folks who are here with me today. Thank you so much for your patronage, and I hope you all have been enjoying my broadcast of the past few months. I have gone a long way to try to relate what you see happening now in the world of politics, all these different sociological developments, to try to relate them to historical events so that you can not be so confused, understand that what was, is, and shall be. In other words, there's nothing new under the sun, and I hope you all appreciate the work that I do. Make sure you hit the number 1 button as you enter into the into this building of knowledge and information. And hopefully you will learn something, which is my ultimate goal. And if you learn something, my only one rule is, whether you're looking at this live or in a rebroadcast, that you make sure I earn something. Because as you know, Uncle D got bills to pay. You understand? And I spend a lot of time trying to put this together. And the only way you can really reward me and let me know you appreciate what I'm doing is showing me that I've motivated you or I taught you something. And the only way you can do that is either hit the like button, of course, subscribe, but then, of course, always I should earn something. So if I don't earn your subscription or your membership or a like or a super chat or a cash app, then I'm going to have to do better. And so, and it's hard work. You guys are hard crowd to please. Nevertheless, while you're here, we're going to keep running it. So anyway, family, this is a place here on this podcast. We don't dodge uncomfortable truths. We dissect them. Okay. And today's broadcast, today, tonight, wherever you are, is entitled White Women with White Male Fatigue. Okay. Now, that might sound ironic at first, because for decades, right, people have been complaining about black folks. And recently, we're dealing with this meme, black fatigue. You even have black people and black podcasters talking about black fatigue. Okay. And, the truth is, we're the ones who are exhausted from the weight of this overt racism and the grind of double standards and endless burden of having to always try to prove our humanity and unprove all the negativity that comes along with simply trying to exist in this world. But here we are, late 2025, and suddenly it's a lot of white women, okay, America's most protected class, saying that they've had enough of white men. Now, I find that ironic, okay? I find that ironic, but, and I'll speak on that a little bit later on, but across social media, you see them everywhere. TikTok, confessionals, Twitter, X threads, podcasts gone viral, white women calling out white male rage, and hypocrisy and violence, and not quietly, but they're doing it publicly. And they're naming the domestic terrorism, the entitlement, the mass pew-pewing, the road rage, and the political extremism, all the same behaviors Black people have been warning the world about for generations. And now white women are saying it, okay? And white women are literally saying, we're done protecting you all. But that raises a deeper question. Why now? Why did it take centuries of Black pain and generations of warning before white women decided to see the monster they have given birth to, that they've raised, that they've nurtured, that they care for? Why did it take their own discomfort for them to recognize the harm that that white men are causing? Okay, is it a moral awakening or just a shift in self-interest? Is this a convenient moment to distance themselves from collapsing white male power, which is falling out of favor? Because make no mistake, this isn't rebellion born from empathy. It's rebellion born from fear. Fear of being dragged down with the men who built the system they have benefited from. Tonight, we're going to unpack all of it. Why so many white women are now turning on white male authority. How this and how this exposes cracks in the foundation of America's racial and gender hierarchy, and what this fracture means for everyone outside the walls of the collapsing house. Because let's be honest, for decades, Black men have been branded dangerous and violent and untrustworthy, while white male violence was branded as mental illness, okay? But now that white women are feeling the same fear, now that they're the ones looking over their shoulders, the question becomes, what happens when the daughters of the empire turn on their fathers and sons? And this conversation isn't about hate, okay? All right, it's about truth. I know I have a lot of white fans and a lot of white people who watch my broadcast. And the thing is, there's this old saying, when you point a finger at one, three get pointed back at you. And for, I guess, the past 6 or 7 months, you all have been pushing this whole Black fatigue thing. And all it's done is cause for folks to take a closer look at white men specifically. Okay? So, buckle up. See, after centuries of protection and privilege and, and denial, we're watching this whole thing crumble under its own hypocrisy. So, we're not just talking about fatigue tonight. We're talking about the beginning of a cultural reckoning. All right. Again, this is the Dennis Spurling podcast, and it's time for us to go ahead and get in it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let these videos play. You guys hit the #1 button and let me know if you can hear it clearly. All right. I think this is very important stuff. This is epic. Y'all hit the #1 button. We are on.
Activist and killed her. This is the man responsible for the Austin bombing. This is the man who sent pipe bombs to Obama, Biden, and Hillary Clinton. This is the man who shot Gabby Gifford. This is the man who tried to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. Oh, and this man, and this man, and this man, this man, this man, this man, this man, this man, and this man. This is the man who set Josh Shapiro's house on fire. This is the Oklahoma bomber. This is his accomplice. These are just a few of the men who beat police officers on January 6th. I can think of a few things they have in common, and it's not the way they use their words or their left-wing politics.
Let's first up.
White women, it's time to get loud, in public and in private. Do you stand with the people or with the system? Because there's only the two now. You're not going to be able to play both sides anymore. You're not going to be able to hide. There's nowhere to hide anymore. We are the ones who can disrupt the violence. We are the most protected group of women. We can demand that the white men in our lives take a stand, that they put their bodies on the line. And we cannot stand next to them if they stand with the system. Period. You'll be so proud of yourself when you take a stand. You'll be a badass enemy of the state. Nothing better than that.
Somebody type "Go Karen" in the chat room. Somebody type "Go Karen" in the chat room. Let's keep going. Go ahead. Let's hear what you're saying.
Hey there, my message today is for white women married to black men. If you are not a white woman married to a black man, then you can feel free to stay. But I'm specifically talking to you white women who are married to black men. You are the person who needs to be educating yourself and
Okay.
deconstructing your own inner
Hold on.
subconscious biases,
My cup down.
white supremacy culture that you've been raised in, and the racism that exists within you. But how can I have those things? I'm married to a black man.
How can I have those things? I have. She's saying, you know, I have a black man's children. I'm black by injection. There's no way I can be racist. And see, you know, sex doesn't eradicate white supremacist feelings. I'm glad she hit that. But somebody type "Go Karen" in the chat room. Let's go.
Obviously, I'm not racist at all.
Mhm.
That is a huge misconception, and that is the problem. And when you hear black folks say that the black Americans' biggest enemy is white liberal women, that's what they're talking about. We think, oh, we're perfect. We are everyone's dream prize because we're not racist and we're all for community and all of those things because we're liberal.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, thinking that way prevents us from growing and learning.
Now,
You cannot.
I don't want to distract from this very important lesson, but I notice that white women who have black husbands, they all have the same haircut. Okay, I'm not stereotyping anybody, but it's always that neckline bob. They all have the same haircut. Why is that? Okay, why is it that you all of them have the same hairstyle? I'm not being judgmental. Okay, I'm just observing some I see. Right, just saying. Let's go.
Not have been raised in the United States of these here Americas without having been highly influenced by the white supremacist culture in which we live. So it is within you, and it is impacting decisions you make, the way that you respond, how you treat other people. It's in there, and it needs to be acknowledged and then deconstructed, because you can't just deconstruct something that you don't believe is there. So I'm going to be showcasing different books and different content creators on here who really are doing a fantastic job and working really hard to make the world a better place. That's the stuff we think we're doing, but we're actually not. We're just sitting back and smiling. So so follow me, and we'll go on this journey together. Because even though I've been doing this work for 30 plus years,
even though I've been getting piped down by a black man for 30 plus years, that's what you meant to say. You've been getting piped down since college. That's where it started. I know, baby. I know it's a lot of black women that would have left a long time ago, but for that powerful pipe of justice and love. Okay, that's what it is. That love pipe. We don't do X-rated. This is family friendly. I'm just speaking the truth. Okay. All right. You can make up for a lot. Okay. You fellas who know. All right. Come in a little late. She got a little bad attitude with you. If you play your cards right, man, you can have you a sandwich towards the end of the night. Get your feet rubbed. Okay. If you got the equipment to do the job. Okay. That's what that pipe would do. You didn't turn this woman from a racist into a woman that loves black men. And she got that bob haircut. Okay. That's what that pipe would do. Okay. That pipe of justice and love. We don't need to talk about it. It's children listening to this. Okay. But if you know, you know. Shout out to all the white women who are fighting against white supremacy because they got a black husband. Okay. A black boyfriend. They love him. All you white girls out there, helping these young men getting their football contracts because you're doing all their homework for them while they're in college because you know they're dumb as a box of rocks. Okay, but as long as Keyshawn goes to the NFL, everything's gonna be all right. We'll get the money, everything will work out. So you're doing this sociology homework right now. Shout out to all y'all at the college campus in the dorm room. Salute to you. Help them get that money, baby. Help them. But anyway, not gonna be distracted. Let's get on back to the broadcast. Go ahead.
Always more to be done. We are never done deconstructing.
No, you ain't done. You ain't done. Deconstruct. You're getting deconstructed.
Here to remind you on this lovely Tuesday morning that it is always a man, and it is very rarely a black man. What do I mean by that?
I don't know. Tell me.
Let me explain. This morning, as I was leaving my favorite coffee shop, I'm turning out of the plaza. I'm waiting for the car.
She got a lot. She's got a black man in her life right now. I can look at her. We can look at her eyes. We know she's been waiting because she's a lot she wanted to say. Okay, but now that she has a stamp of approval of a black man, she has a legitimate reason to fight for the cause. I can see the melanin beginning to percolate through her skin. Okay, she got a little tint. I can tell. Go ahead. I'm gonna let her talk. Look, I tell my sons all the time, I want you to get you a black woman of African descent. Doesn't matter where she's from. Okay, I'm with you, but this right here, okay, she's tainted. She's definitely been tainted. She's been blacked, if you will. Praise God. Let's keep listening.
To pass, as soon as it was clear for me I was going to go, there's a man laying on his horn, not like a little tap, but just laying on his horn. I was like, wow, what did I do? So I proceed to go.
Yes.
He then comes up next to me screaming at me. I did nothing to this man. I'm literally getting my matcha, and I'm so happy this morning. I am doing nothing wrong. I am literally just a girl. He comes up next to me, screams, cuts me off, almost hits my car. Why are men so violent towards women? It is not even 9 a.m.
She's talking about white men being violent towards her. Okay, she's out here snitching and telling. You know how brothers always say there ain't no other women out there who be talking bad about their men other than black women to talk back. Look, let me tell you something. You see that right there? There's white women are snitching and telling. I got plenty more. Let's keep listening.
Why are you so violent and angry? And it was a white man. It's rarely ever a black man. I'm sorry.
So not one, not two, not three, but 4 mass shootings across the country in 24 hours.
Yep.
It's interesting. I haven't heard anything about political affiliation. Oh, that's right. It was a MAGA, wasn't it? I forgot. We don't talk about the details when a MAGA does it, which is like 99% of the time.
Ooh, they talking bad about white men.
I wish it wasn't one of us. I was really hoping it was someone from out of state or even out of country. Hello? So you just went on national live TV to say that you wish it was someone not white that killed CK. So you could push this narrative even more. And then immediately after he got killed, and even after we knew it was a straight white man.
Now I'm gonna just say, I'm trying to be serious, but clearly we can find her in any local Walmart with some biracial children following behind her. Praise God. Beautiful. Thank you so much for your contribution to the good and the common welfare. These tough racial discussions, but the tattoos on the hand give it away. But you got a black baby daddy. I'm just gonna put it out there. Your baby daddy is black, both of them. Okay, but let's continue. Let's listen to what she's saying. Go ahead.
The HBCUs have to be on lockdown because there's threats.
You've been the one too.
For no reason.
You done hung out
like we already know that no other person besides a white man was involved.
Shout out to all the Walmart back.
Go to black men and women.
Yeah.
Make it fucking make sense.
Family
and now there's
no
2 lynchings. One at a college, and one I just found out was a homeless man.
Yeah.
Which is even crazier after the fact that they went on national TV and said that homeless people should be euthanized. Like, I am so fucking tired. I can't imagine being a black man or woman because I'm tired. And my safety is not even directly.
Yeah, you tired. We've been tired a long time. Walmart Becky, we've been tired a long time. But go ahead and continue. Go ahead and let's hear what else you got to say.
Affected.
Continue.
My man's is and my kids are, but like, I just can't imagine the emotional and mental load.
I've been waiting so long to talk about this.
I know.
You know how some people get trapped in abusive relationships? Like they cannot leave. Or if they can, it feels like they can't, or they're afraid of what will happen if they do. For the most part, white women supporting their men is like that. Doesn't excuse them. But it's a combination of being infantilized from birth, being rewarded just enough, and being terrified of freedom. If all you've ever known your whole life is an itty-bitty box, the world outside can seem quite scary. So yeah, it benefits them. But mostly they're afraid. Y'all's being held hostage. And that's where they always go.
Now you saying y'all afraid. You afraid of Brad? Is that what you're saying? Brad is kicking you down and rewarding you too now. Okay. I think it's more than a little bit, especially considering that the vast majority of the wealth in the United States is owned by women, white women who inherited from their white fathers and husbands, etc. So you do benefit a lot more, okay, than you're letting on to. And again, I am intrigued at the fact that you have all these white women who have taken to TikTok and are basically snitching and telling. You got these, somebody type "Go Karen" in the chat room. It's interesting to hear. Keep on telling. Keep on telling.
Back into the shadow of their men when the men get angry enough. The system is set up for failure, and many of them choose, whether they know it or not, to cling to what little benefit they can get, rather than being brave and seeing what lies beyond.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, babe.
82 million American men are signed up on OnlyFans, and out of those 82 million, 90% are married. So I think it's fair to say that American married men have not been able to keep some sort of excitement in their marriages. They are.
Now this is a foreign Becky, okay, and she is saying that 82 million men are signed up to OnlyFans. Okay, OnlyFans. That's where you look at the little freak shows. I've heard about it over the past couple of years. OnlyFans. A lot of girls make a lot of money on OnlyFans. Okay, they making a lot of money on OnlyFans, and they're doing a lot. Okay, they're doing a lot. Back when I was young, they had something called Only Streets. if you want to do something strange for some change, then you had to go to the Only Streets, right? But now, you can go to the OnlyFans and get you some money. 82 million married men, or 92% of them are married men. Who's doing it? I wonder who's on the OnlyFans. I know I'm too cheap. I'm just tell you now, I ain't paying for the OnlyFans. I'm gonna tell you that now. Anyway, let's let foreign Becky finish.
Obviously trying to fill a void, and out of those 82 million, most are white married American men.
Damn.
So something is going on here.
White.
There
sounds like a lot of sexual repression. You got 82 million married men on the OnlyFans. 92% of them are white married men. You making these young girls rich. Well, there's a lot of sexual repression going on. Okay, all you white nationalists out there, every time y'all get together in a city, they got some freaky apps. All the freak apps go through the roof. The freak apps get blown out. The freaky apps where they do the freaky stuff, not normal sex, but freaky stuff. Other side of the fence type stuff. So all you so-called conservatives, all you white, Jesus wouldn't like that, what you're doing. And the fact that you on OnlyFans is not like you on only Jesus. You on OnlyFans. That's what you're doing with your money. Okay. Somebody type high IQ in the chat room. Somebody type high IQ. These are the high IQ people. All these high IQ people that's what they're doing with the money. Let's keep listening.
Obviously not fulfilled in their marriages, but they are also not leaving. So, yeah, interesting.
It's interesting. Show a type of high IQ in the chat room.
White men are clever. White men colonized everybody on the planet, including white women. They were like, no, bitch, you sit in the back of the bus too.
Right.
One white woman ruined the barbecue and then she became the problem.
Now, this is a Puerto Rican woman that's married to a white man from the Midwest. So she's speaking for her, she knows some things. Let's keep listening.
I'm like, well played, white men. That's chess, not checkers. White women have been standing on the front line for abortion forever. We don't even know that is an act of allyship. They're like, yo, these white men are evil and we ain't making no more of them.
Look at all these people. I mean, where are all the divestors at? All you divestors that are on the internet, where are y'all at? Do you hear what the white woman is saying about white men, and y'all gonna lead a black man to go get one of them? That's a high IQ move, ladies. That's really high IQ for you to leave the men that the women who've been dealing with them saying these dudes are horrible for the men that all the other women want. Okay, I'm just saying. Shout out to all the divestors and the swirlers. All right, I don't know. You need to think about it. Let's keep going. Yes.
You know what I'm having a hard time understanding right now is all
hold on a minute.
All the white male rage. It just seems a little undeserving, right?
All right, hold on a minute, because let's take another listen and look. Y'all listen, because these octaves, okay? Octaves are a little deep, okay? The octaves are a little deep. She's saying this individual is saying some very important stuff, but the octaves, her voice is a little, I want you to listen to me real quick. It's a little deep. I'm not trying to judge. I'm not here to judge anybody, okay? You like to wear dresses, go right on ahead, but your shoulders are wide. Your shoulders are a little squared off, but I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
Men, my dad was one, my brother's one, lots of friends, but
you're one.
Women's rage, I understand that. We were oppressed for centuries. Black people's rage, I understand that, also oppressed for centuries. But how can you be so angry when you've been at the top of the food chain pretty much forever? Get some help.
Your voice is a little deep, though. Get some help. But go ahead.
I'll give you a second.
Okay, now that they're gone. Okay, so I just need to know how.
Somebody, shout out to Faquan. This little girl right here got some black in her. I could tell. But go ahead.
Oh, you reject white guys because I feel.
Because you got a little black in you. Some of your great grandmama ain't tell you. Baby, I know my people when I see them. You got a little taste. You got a little taste in you, baby girl. I'm just saying. I can look at you and tell. I can tell you got about 8%. Little sub-Saharan in there.
I feel so bad when I do it. The other day, this white guy Snapchatted me and he was like, hey, do you want to hang out sometime? And I was like, yeah, sure. Can you send me a picture of you? Because I didn't know who he was. And he sent me a picture and he's white as can be. And I'm like, I can't. I just can't. It's not my fault, okay?
I know.
So I just didn't answer him. And now he's Snapchatting me 20 times and I just don't know how to tell him that
that you're light skinned. That's what you need to tell him, baby girl. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you right now. You got my people in you, okay? Grandma didn't tell you. She moved down south. She had that baby, okay? And, that baby got raised and, and they sold her off as white, passing and then through the generation. But you clearly, I'm looking at you. I can tell. And you're loud. So I know you're black. Keep going.
I will never date him because he's white and I can't date white guys anymore because I'm
black.
So stuck on black guys.
Oh, yeah. It's okay, baby. It's okay.
I'm going to tell you why the Slavic women, they like the black or the really dark men.
To be specific, by the way, Polish women, like Eastern.
I'm gonna make her a little bigger. This is scary. She scares me, but in a good way. Okay, this is a scary foreign Becky. Go ahead and this is like an Ivanka or something like that. Let's let her speak. Go ahead.
Really dark men. To be specific, by the way, Polish women, like Eastern Europe, they fucking love black men. And if you ask them, they'll tell you they're more masculine. They smell amazing of coconut oil. They tend to like really look after themselves. And by the way, when I go to get a manicure and a pedicure, there's always black men in there getting their nails done.
Okay.
They actually look after themselves, but at the same time, they're really masculine.
A little scary.
Yeah, Dutch women go crazy for them. When you're talking about Russia, they'll sort of accept anyone if they're dark. Like, they go crazy for Mexicans. That's why Mexicans leave. They find a Russian snow bunny, they bring them back to Mexico, and then they go to LA and the story of love starts. Slavic girls, they've just got this obsession, you know?
Somebody says she's a vampire. She look like a vampire. That's a vampire right there. Okay. That's what it is. That's a vampire. Go ahead. Did y'all take my broadcast last night? Ice people and the sun people. Did y'all see that? You should check the one from last night. But let's keep listening.
But like the darker men have
the darker men.
Milk.
You look like you would suck the darker men dry of all their juices. Blood. I'm talking about blood. That's what you look like. You look like you would drain the darker men dry, ma'am. Okay, that's what it looked like to me. You scary. You are scary. Okay, you are scary, and it's you're a scary person. Let's keep going.
Probably another way they're just slightly persuaded over to the dark side of life.
That's how they feel about you dudes. That's you brothers. Can you imagine being a white man and you done conquered the world and you've taken over everything, and these women, these ungrateful heifers are out here on TikTok embarrassing you, telling you that the man that you have told them is the worst man in the world, they actually like it. Ain't that a woman for you? You don't need to like him. He's a beast. He's some sexual beast, and his mandingo is just hanging down to his kneecaps. Stay away from him, Becky. And Becky's like, I need to run on over there and give me one of those mandingos. You see what I mean? And look at that. All that the white woman has done, all the white man has done to try to, quote unquote, protect this white woman. And these women are out here snitching and telling, just disloyal. How dare you? Foreign Becky, how dare you? Walmart Becky, and how dare y'all say that? I would be angry too if I was a white man. That's why they're cutting up out in the street. That's what this is really about. They want to get that woman back under control, get her back in the kitchen, cooking, strip her of her rights, keep her pregnant, and get some more white babies. That's what this is about. Let's keep listening.
Ironic it is that the right demonizes people of color when the only time I feared for my life has been around a white man. I get so many hate comments.
The only time I fear for my life is when I've been around a white man. Damn. Shout out to Timothy Humphrey. Look at that. Look at that. You hear that? White women don't want to be in white spaces with white men. This is what this woman is saying. Call her Scary Becky.
Comments like these few here. Most of the time I just write it off as immature, angry men, but the times that I've genuinely been scared that violence was going to be inflicted upon me have been white men. Not to mention that a lot of domestic violence as well as many mass shootings are committed by white men. There are going to be people in any demographic that commit crimes, but the fact—
But no, that's because they have mental issues. Remember, it's a mental health issue. Remember that. Don't forget that part. Let's keep going, right? That's what they tell us. Keep going.
The right focuses so intensely on the single crime that a person of color commits is so dishonest. Some of the craziest things that have happened to me since I started posting is that I've gotten my account banned because white supremacists mass reported me for being underage, which I'm clearly not. They found my phone number and leaked it, so I had to change my phone number. They tried to get me fired by contacting any school in Chicago to see if I worked there. There was even an online page to see who was calling which school. I've literally been called a race traitor and told that I will be lynched along with POC. So no, people of color aren't the problem here. It is white men, and that's why I make the content I do. They prove it to me more and more every single day why it's necessary.
What would you rather date, a white guy or a black guy?
I like white boys.
So why a white guy and not a black guy?
I like the flowy hair. They're easier to like manipulate.
Easy to manipulate. What are you saying? Are you saying Brad is a simp? Huh? Is that what you said? Stop you. Are you saying Brad is a simp? Brad is the easiest one to manipulate. Is that what you're saying? That's why you like dating? So I want you to understand, these white women are basically saying the only reason they're with these white dudes is because they can, well, one of the major reasons is because they're easily to manipulate. You see what I'm saying? That is just emasculation right there. They're basically calling you a bunch of suckers. And that's what they're saying, you know? But again, these are white women, and they clearly have white male fatigue, and we're just letting them talk, you know? And I'm trying, you know, I'm doing the best I can not to talk over the videos, but some of this stuff I have to comment on. You guys have to give me a little leeway to say what I think many of you all are saying. But let's keep listening.
Around like one person versus an entire train of people, like any of that. White people are so performative and protective of this idea of being nice. Nice is a lie. Nice isn't real. It's not authentic, and it kills. I saw this TikTok earlier about this.
White men commit up to 45 times more violent crime than undocumented immigrants. This comment somehow made it onto my page, even though when I responded with a direct link to some hair plugs, that of course violated community guidelines.
I'm just going to say this. I want to give a shout out to all the white women who talk like white women. I like white people who act white. I don't like white people who pretend to be something other than white. Don't try to fake like you're a damn black person, especially when you start faking like you're a ghetto black person. We don't like that. Just like white people don't like black people who try to pretend as though they're white. You know you don't talk like that, Tyrone and Keisha. Stop trying to hold your nasal passages close together so you can speak with that nasally tone. You don't speak like that. I love white people who act white. Shout out to all the white people who act like white people are supposed to act. Okay? That's what I like. Stop trying to fake being like somebody else. And this white woman, she is a white woman all the way through. Keep doing what you're doing. Go ahead.
But I digress. This is obviously a huge talking point for people who are anti-immigrant, right? That illegal immigrants commit this huge amount of crime. They're this massive danger to society. So here are some helpful statistics around that if you find yourself in an argument with someone like this. White men make up about 29% of the US population. However, they are responsible for about 43% of all violent crime committed.
Damn.
Undocumented immigrants make up about
29%. That's all the white people.
2% of the population. And they are responsible for about 1.5% of the violent crime that happens in the United States. 1.5%. That means that white men commit 40 times the amount of violent crime than undocumented immigrants do. So no, I'm actually not afraid of the quote trash that Biden lets into this country. The only person that I'm actually afraid of is you.
Damn. She says she's afraid of the white man. That's white women. They got white male fatigue. Damn. Keep going.
You were on my side until I described the two middle-aged white men as two middle-aged white men.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Are they sensitive?
It's what? It's like the saying of do it with the confidence of a mediocre white man. Like that.
Ooh. Do it with the confidence of a mediocre white man. You hear that? They're basically saying that you all are inherited your positions and unearned and you're mediocre. And you have the nerve to have, this is what white women are saying. And look, I know they call us dusty. Okay? Clearly, shout out to all the dusty black men. All the brothers, shout out to all the dusty black. Black women call us dusty all the time, right? But we're not being called mediocre. We're not being called all these. They're not emasculating us like this on a national stage. Your own woman, and you've done everything for her. Damn, that's harsh. Okay, let's keep listening to this tongue lashing.
It's like it's a descriptor. It's a descriptor. I have a lot of white men in my life that I love that are middle-aged.
Mm-hmm. She loves them, yeah.
It's how I describe these men because it was very middle-aged, rich middle-aged white men of them to do. Okay, to charge back $2,500 for me after I did a lot of work for them.
Yeah, she wanted money.
Sorry, I lost your support.
because they call the white men white.
Yeah, they sensitive these days. Not like the white men.
Want to know why good old Pete only wants Caucasian men in the military? They're the easiest to manipulate. Don't want to be training up those who have had to.
Now, she had a black boyfriend back in college or maybe high school. This one right here. Susan. Somebody type Susan in the chat room. That's a Susan right there. Susan clearly had a black boyfriend, okay? And she might have a side dude right now that's black, a little man that she hugs a little too hard at work. Little work husband. Susan, I can tell. Susan lives a good life, but Susan is telling it, okay? Working on that second divorce. Go ahead, Susan.
Overcome adversity? Absolutely not. But white men, they've never had to deal with it. They don't even know that they're being oppressed. So they'll just blindly follow. I know why good old Pete only wants.
So this is probably going to be very controversial. I feel more safe in a space shared with black men than I feel very unsafe in a space shared by white men.
Okay.
Now, before y'all get your panties in a wad and get all pissed off about this, when I am surrounded by a bunch of white men, I'm constantly looking around.
Lord.
I have no fear in a room full of black men. The reason why, when I go to the movies, I don't worry that a black man's gonna the movie theater. When I go to my church, I don't worry that a black man's gonna the church.
They're gonna do that.
When I go to the mall, I don't worry that a black man's gonna the mall.
Hell no, we ain't.
When I go to my children's school, I don't worry that a black man's gonna the school. Black men will target one or two or three.
You don't get at that
White men will go schools, movie theaters,
everybody,
churches,
everybody. What's wrong with
grocery stores?
Lost their goddamn mind.
So before you say that you're worried about being surrounded by black men,
and before you say,
you better think about that.
You got a hell of an accent too. Before you say, now look. I'm a shout out to those brave melanin challenged women who came in to tell the truth. Now, here's the thing. You might be, oh, that's just white women complaining. You know how women are. It's not just women. It's not just white women. Okay? Snitching and telling. Okay? White people are telling on themselves. These white women have white male fatigue, and you also have it's all coming out. You know, the stuff they do. Matter of fact, this is one of the whitest white men that has ever existed. Right here. This is Tim running down Tebow. Okay, Mr. Florida, right? I want you to hear what he has to say about white men. I want you to listen to this very carefully. It's very serious. We have a little fun here. Shout out to Mr. KJS or KJ Smooth 16. Let's listen to what Tim Tebow has to say. Very serious topic.
The number one offender type is biological fathers. But by far, it is being done by middle-aged Caucasian men. Many, over half of them, college graduates. Many of them are educated, good jobs. This isn't just who we're thinking about. Like, they're technical savvy, and I think that it is time that we call them out. Like, that we can't stand by and stand back. Like, we have to stand up and say, not only are we not doing our job as men, it's actually the opposite. Instead of being defenders and protectors of our families, we're hurting and abusing. We were in the office last week, and we're talking with someone that's amazing in this space, and we're going through a case to try to learn from this and do some more stuff. And
I'm gonna pause it for a minute so I can comment, so as not to get a strike or anything, because this is clearly from somebody's show. he is talking about, fathers taking advantage of their own children. And the number one offender are college educated, middle-aged Caucasian men. That's what this gentleman, that's what Tim Tebow is saying. Okay? Let's continue to listen to this. Fair use.
The guy that has already been put away and convicted of his crime was abusing an 18-month-old, his 18-month-old, and his 9-month-old. And I was sitting there and just horror, right? But then we're looking at what he was doing it on. And he was doing it on a Florida Gator blanket. And I was thinking, man, this is probably someone that was rooting for the Gators. Probably someone that maybe is a fan or likes the Gators, likes when I play. But no, this how personal this is. Maybe it's someone that's in the stadium watching us play, right? Like this isn't far off or far across around the world, because we always think, and even sometimes members of Congress will say to us, but we got to worry about our backyard. No, we're talking about our backyard. This is our backyard. This is right here. Like.
Now, I don't know if you all understood the gravity of what he's saying, but let me throw a statistics out there. Over 70% of the family members, the fathers who hurt their children, or family members who hurt their children in that way, are white men. You understand what I mean? So don't you ever let these white folk tell you that we are the most violent. The only one permanently hurting white people in the first place and destroying white people are white men. You understand that? I don't give a damn about crooks killing crooks in Chicago. I don't give a damn if the murder rate was whatever the percentage is. Those are crooks killing crooks, drug dealers and gangbangers. What we're talking about, and why white women and even some white men have white male fatigue, is because these men, this unreported, undiscussed tragedy is hurting the innocent. We're talking about DV, we're talking about SA, we're talking about, it's not just pedo, but it's also incest. This is what's going on in these people's houses. So they have no room to discuss what's going on in the black community, especially, you can't compare apples and oranges. Yeah, it's bad. Nobody should be getting unalived in the street, but it's a difference between two crooks and criminals unaliving each other and taking advantage of a child, especially your own child. Now, let's go ahead and dig down deep into this broadcast. Something, again, you guys see, this is something profound is happening in American culture, and largely because we don't have just the three major networks, so they can't really gatekeep this information. People are taking to the internet and they're talking about what they see. You understand? They're talking about what they see. And what they see is white men doing horrible things to their family, and people want to talk about it. Okay? And it's not even just that they are doing the essay. Here's another example. I want you to look at this. If we need to talk. Okay, listen to this. This is the other thing that white men are doing to their families, since they want to bring black people into it. Listen to this.
Talk about something I've mentioned before, but clearly needs addressing again. We are watching a specific trend climb: the rise of the family annihilator. There was a family in San Francisco where the parents and the 2 daughters have perished. It was rumored that the mother did it, but assumptions would have us believe that the father did it because that's common. With a 12 and 9-year-old daughter, why eliminate them? Because your family is $200K in debt? I mean, look at the pattern. A family, often white, appears to have it all. The businesses, the facade of generational wealth, the perfect life in a city like San Francisco. Then the inevitable pressure of a depressive economy that begins to crack the illusion of success. Debts begin to pile up. The performance of success becomes impossible to maintain. And for the racist white man whose entire identity is built on fake control and fake dominance, this is a life-ending event. White people being faced with the threat of losing it all is causing the self-harm uptick. It's a voice in the racist man's head telling him he's a failure in the system that he was told he was born to rule. So what does he do when he can no longer control the market or his finances? He makes one final brutal assertion of control. He does not see his family as human beings. They are extensions of his property, his legacy, his brand. And if that brand is about to be repossessed, he would rather see it wiped from the earth than allow anyone to witness his humiliation. He would rather annihilate his entire bloodline than face a single day in a world where he is not on top. This is the dark, rotten core of the mundane middle-class family. It is the same impulse that drives their political violence. When their supremacy is challenged, their solution is not adaptation. It's annihilation. They're taking their wives and children with them into the abyss because they cannot fathom a lifestyle where they do not hold absolute power. So can we call this a mental health crisis? Because I think it's a cultural cancer. I think it's the violent end of a capitalist fairy tale. Racists are showing us that they would rather commit the most unforgivable act imaginable than to simply admit that they are not superior. They'd rather
Somebody type white fatigue in the chat room. Somebody type white male fatigue in the chat room.
rather prove their lack of humanity and face their rightful class position as the bottom. While Black American families thrive and are guaranteed to survive, a disturbing number of these white people are choosing to erase their lineages entirely. The men are going to annihilate their families or drive their spouses to commit the act themselves. Well, when the going gets tough, be the source of your own demise, I guess. Y'all stay safe.
All right, so you got many men and women, and white men and women. Shout out to Miss Tech Not Fancy, acknowledging that the most consistent threats of violence in their lives, when we're talking about domestic abuse or mass pew-pewing, it doesn't come from marginalized groups of Black and brown people, but it comes from within their own demographic. They're recognizing patterns of aggression, entitlement, and grievance amongst white men that the media dismisses as mental illness or a lone wolf or loneliness. And this recognition, what it does is it signals a break in the old social contract. Okay, and that was a social contract, shout out to Urban Eagle, where white women were expected to remain silent, just reap the benefits of this white male domination, both of Black and brown people and of white women, because remember, they first exercised dominance over the white woman before they even left Europe. That's where patriarchy came from. I talked about that yesterday. I hope you all got the first part of what we're looking at right now yesterday. That's kind of what it is, okay? But increasingly, they're saying we can't protect the system that keeps protecting itself at our expense. That's what you hear white women are saying. Now, another emerging theme is self-accountability. Many white women are publicly challenging the idea that relationships with Black or non-white men automatically absolve them of racial bias. They're admitting that the proximity to Blackness or diversity, I got a Black friend, I have Black employees. That's not the same as understanding. Okay. That they understand that white supremacy shapes them too, even when they mean well. And this internal reckoning marks a shift from this performative allyship to some real life introspection. Now, a growing number of white women have begun to speak about their experiences of fear, not in relation to Black and brown men, as the old stereotype suggests, but towards white men, their sons, their fathers, their uncles, their husbands, and they describe a realization that the most common sources of a threat, whether we talk about road rage, harassment, extremist violence, that comes from the men who look like them. And, for some, this has led to a startling admission. They feel safer around Black men than they do white men. It's a statement that directly challenges the centuries of propaganda about who's dangerous and who's not. Again, the truth will eventually come to the light. Now, white women are also noticing, they're also noticing the stark contrast in how American society, you heard them, how we discuss violence, and it's all depending on who commits it. When the perpetrator is white and a male, they're going to have plenty of excuses. Mental health, He's mental health issues, isolated. He was bullied, right? When the perpetrator or alleged perpetrator is a black man or generally a man of color, the narrative becomes one of pathology. Oh, it's their culture. They're just born, their genetics. And this double standard exposes the deep moral hypocrisy embedded in the national conscience. Now, a number of white women that you saw here, and those women are just a small number of videos that I was able to pull up and put it. I didn't want this broadcast to go into 4 hours because, you know, y'all ain't paying me enough. Hint, hint. But bottom line is, there's plenty of it out there. You can see it yourself. But nevertheless, these white women describe their relationship to white men as psychologically confining. You see what I'm saying? Like an emotional contract they were born into. You know, they are protected by the same system that basically incarcerates them. It limits them. You know, they're rewarded for loyalty, but they're also punished for what's seen as rebellion. And, you know, they have horrible names that they call white women who date out, you know, but they don't have those same names for, shout out to Faquan, they don't have those same names for white men who do the same thing. But the lady used the term, it's the metaphor as an abusive relationship, okay? And the idea that white women are kept dependent on the very structure that harms them, made to fear that without it, they'll lose identity, security, or value, okay? And many are now confirming the contradictions in the cultural traditional values. They point out that the same white men who claim to uphold moral purity are amongst the largest consumers of pornography, sex work, okay? And that's a quiet crisis. Somebody type OnlyFans in the chat room, okay? It's a quiet crisis, a hypocrisy that reveals emotional emptiness rather than moral authority. You see what I'm saying? So don't you ever let these folk tell you just because they're married, oh, we're more married than you. Yeah, but y'all also got more people, more married white men on OnlyFans making these girls rich. So what does that say? You just married on paper. You know, think about that. And what this does is this whole thing, it critiques and reframes white male morality as a performance of control. And it's not based on their own personal convictions. It's just a performance of control. They're out of control. Anytime you got 72% of the perpetrators of in-house incest, and I'm saying, y'all know what I'm talking about, and all this DV and sex, that's they're not in control. They're out of control. What they do in the dark has now come to the light. You see, and these are the people that you all these black YouTubers around here kissing all these white people's butts as if they are the epitome of morality and we should pattern ourselves after white folks. You're a fool. Our ancestors knew what white folk did. That's what you think. Why do you think if the house slave was getting treated so well, why was that house slave the one that oftentimes unalived the whole family? The house slave was the one, because that was the one, so she lived with him. In some regards, it was better to be in the field. At least you had an opportunity to be away from that craziness which went on in the house of these white folk. You understand what I'm saying? Read some of these slave narratives. At least the field slave got to be out there and away from all that. It was the house slaves that had to deal with the craziness, made them crazy. You see? Again, white men have colonized everybody, including white women. And that's just the hard truth, you know, that patriarchy that white patriarchy, that white male patriarchy doesn't merely dominate other races, it subjects its own women through the same logic of control, hierarchy, and fear. Didn't we talk about that? We talk about those Iceman the Iceman inheritance and where that came from. You're raised in an environment where food and resources are scarce and everything about the earth is bad, it's dark, it's cold, and there's always something out there trying to bite you and eat you. You see? And so you grow up in that. There's an inheritance that becomes embedded in your culture. And you become who you are. Control is mandatory. Control is necessary for life. Hierarchy is necessary for life. You see? Now, one of the more recurring themes is this confusion about where does all this anger come from? This is a question that white women have to ask white men. They live with it. If they don't understand, how would we know? I mean, how can those with the most social advantages feel so persecuted? And the answer is the issue lies in their fragility. When you've been at the top so long, and others begin to ascend, and you have to look at them as equals. Okay. Equality seems like you're taking a loss. That's not oppression, it's withdrawal from unchecked privilege. And then the younger generation of white women, they've expressed a visible fatigue with white masculinity. They describe white men as emotionally detached, insecure, or entitled. Again, we talked about that. That's that Iceman inheritance that Michael Bradley spoke about. And Dr. Francis Cress Welsing put a cap on in his book. But nevertheless, many say that they're drawn to men from other cultures who display emotional balance, confidence, and empathy. Thank you so much, Fuquan. I appreciate you. And this shift isn't just romantic, it's symbolic. It suggests a rejection of the cold dominance model of manhood for something more human and holistic. And finally, and I'm just commenting on the videos, one of the most radical acts many white women are committing is simply naming the system itself, saying the words white men out loud in critique. That alone in some spaces provokes outrage. It reveals an uncomfortable truth. Whiteness remains the one identity in America that demands constant protection from criticism, even as it shapes nearly every institution. And when they begin to do what? Attack that, revolution happening. And so again, what you see happening right now is a cultural shift. White women beginning to confront the same realities that Black people have spoken about for generations, but this isn't necessarily moral enlightenment, okay? It's about survival, all right? And as the social consequences of white male rage and violence and hypocrisy begin to circle back home, white women are realizing that the threat isn't from outside, it's from within their own house. And that's the turning point in the USA. Okay, when the daughters of the empire start questioning their fathers and husbands and sons, the foundation itself begins to crack. And that's not just gender tension. That's history folding in on itself. Now I'm gonna give y'all some real numbers before we move on, because I gotta lay this foundation. Let's deal with facts, not feelings. Okay, because too often when people talk about crime, they're not talking about data, they're talking about propaganda. So let's go straight to the FBI's own numbers. Okay, the kind that don't like, they don't want to repeat this on Fox News, they won't talk about it on CNN, they won't talk about it on MSNBC, because all of those organizations, whether you talk about conservative or liberal or whatever, that's just a two-headed dragon, okay, attached to the same body. See, the real statistics are not conspiracy theories, tell the truth, okay? And this comes straight from federal law enforcement. Specifically, I'm going to quote you all some things that you could look up and find in the 2019 FBI stats. And the reason we use that is because that is before COVID-19 and things kind of went crazy. DV went through the roof when folk had to sit in the house with each other for 12 to 18 months. But the unalivement rate 54% of all unalivements. 54.8, almost 55%, over half, are committed by white Americans. Here's another one. That's over half. So don't let these people tell you you're per capita. No, over half the unalivements are committed by white Americans. Okay? That's horrible. They're putting more bodies up. They got the numbers. So don't let them shift that blame. Here's another one. It lets you know, and we're talking about that repression, that sexual repression. This is the more moral authority. These are the great Christian nationalists. 67.2% of all grapes. That's damn near 70% of all the grapes happening in America are committed by white, more likely than not men. Here's another nasty one. 83% of all bestiality. 83% of all people arrested for having some sort of sexual act with an animal. Fido in there fighting for his life. Roll over, Rover. No, not again. Rover's around there scratching his booty on the grass, and we didn't know why. Oh, you just got an itch? No, you've been doing something to poor Rover. Roll over, Rover. And that's on 83%. 77.1% of all child, we'll say bad pictures. Okay, all child movies, offenses. 77% white people. More likely than not, white men. 50. Think about that. If you just take the grapes, the bestiality, and the child photos or whatever alone, 67%, 83%, 77%. Man, they got basketball numbers over there. You see? I mean, that right there lets you know the moral location of white folk as a group right now. You see what I mean? Your children are not safe. Can you imagine what's going on in them little white towns? You want to have a little all-white town in Arkansas? Your children are going to be your entertainment. There's going to be a lot of messed up kids coming out of there. Grapes and bestiality and child predation. That's what you're doing. This is the nasty, dirty underbelly of what's going on, and they don't talk about it because whiteness must be protected. That's some sick stuff going on over there. And they talk about, well, you all have the most unalive. I don't give a damn. We can we can shoot each other, we can pew each other all we want, but our dogs and cats are safe. You understand that? Our dogs and cats are not walking around here, okay? And they with extra poo-poo leaking out the back of them because they can't close their little booty hole no more. Okay, our dogs and cats, okay, are safe. Our red-nosed pit bulls and Rottweilers they are safe. Y'all, them little Labrador retrievers y'all have are not safe. Y'all are out there playing the Lion King on them damn animals you got. Sad, nasty self. Shout out to Animal Advocate. I have nightmares hearing these things. Yeah, it's sad. And nobody talks about this. And if we just want to talk about felony assault, that's 58%. A felony assault is typically somebody hitting somebody or somebody pulling a pistol on somebody or something like that, or pulling a knife or a bat. 58.6 felony assaults. That's a felony. White men. 70% of overdoses, drugs, and 75% of methamphetamine units, white people. 77% of self-deletions, white people. And of course, white collar crime, they got everybody beat. They 75% of that. Okay? Those are the facts. Now here's the question. Who's repeating this information to the American public? They quick to tell you about black folks and our murder rate. They love to talk about Chicago. Let's talk about this bestiality. How about that? Let's talk about once you get through with them poor dogs, you send them to the pound. Well, yeah, we're through with our lab. We got a Dalmatian now. We like them black and white. Yeah, look at what you're doing. It's nasty. Nobody's putting those charts in primetime TV. Okay? Who's making hour-long YouTube videos entitled White Fatigue like they're doing about us? Nobody. Because, see, that kind of truth doesn't fit the narrative. Okay? Shout out to Fake Few Quan. See, the lie that America loves to tell is that black people are killing unaliving white folk left and right. No white person is safe. We're the threat. We're the danger lurking around the corner. But the truth, and the FBI confirms it, is that unalivement, 187s, is a proximity crime. People hurt the people near them. And in 2025, most black people don't live around white people in great numbers. For you people who are foreigners, we don't live around white people. We are still largely a segregated country. Now, of course, there are enclaves where you have white folk. I live in predominantly black neighborhood, but we got some white folks around here, you see? But for the most part, black people like to live around each other, you see? White folks like to live around each other. So statistically, this whole black on white fear campaign is really just built on the myth. Now, let's get specific. According to the FBI's official 2019 homicide data, and remember, these are their numbers, not mine, okay? White victims, you have 3,299 total victims who were unalived in 2019. Now, if you listen to these white folk, they will have you believing that every last one of them, but 3 or 4, was eliminated by a black person. But the truth is, 2,594 of those people, of the 3,299, they were unalived by other white people. That's 79%. 17% were unalived by black people. And if you look in those numbers, some of that was probably domestic. And some of those so-called white people might have been Latino, you see, who classify themselves as white. And some of that was some crime-related type stuff. Keep that in mind, too. Because one thing black people and white people will do is they will get together on some crime. Okay? If you ever see a white woman out in the street homeless, trust me, she has 3 or 4 black dudes that will protect her. Okay? So but largely, we're not with each other. Okay, so I want to make this plain because I want y'all to understand something. White on white unaliveness outnumber black on white by 2,000. Okay, black on black unaliveness outnumber white on black by 2,300 cases. So when people claim black men are out here deleting white people, that's just false. It's a deliberate distortion designed to inflame racial fear. And here's something else they don't talk about. How many of those so-called white victims, as I said, are Hispanic? How many of this is drug disputes? How many of this is domestic violence? How many of this is criminal activity? Okay? You see, how many of these people are already engaged in illegal behavior? And here's another, shout out to Black saying, if we just want to talk about black folk in general, how many of those people who did those crimes were black immigrants, Africans, Caribbeans, Afro-Latinos, right? Don't put all that on foundational black Americans. See, context matters, you understand? Because when you strip away the fear and the sensationalism, the numbers tell the story the media refuses to say out loud. America's most consistent pattern of violence, exploitation, and destruction has always come from white America itself, especially white men. Now, that's, now we're going to move forward because we need to look at those actual numbers. And let's talk about what the lie lives on. Every time there's a crime involving a black suspect and a white victim, it becomes national news. But when it's the other way around, when when the numbers show that the most deletions and rapes and assaults and mass pew-pewings are committed by white men, you don't see breaking news banners on primetime specials. You get silence, you get distraction, you get deflection. The media doesn't say white male suspect. They say lone gunman. They say mentally ill. They say troubled youth. They say young man. I've yet to hear a white man be described as a thug. Look at this Maggiani, this what's his name, Maggiani, that unalived that man on a New York street, the healthcare situation with the healthcare president, CEO. Never referred to him as a thug. But let a black man so much as defend himself, and suddenly he's a gangster, he's a criminal, he's a violent gang member, he's a suspected thug. He could be scratching his nose on the internet. See, he's throwing up a grain sign on his photograph, and they'll put that all on the internet. And that's not journalism, that's narrative control. It's a system built to preserve the image of white male innocence and to maintain fear of that black masculine image. And because see, they need these white women to run away from that black masculine image. They need to pretend as though that black masculinity is toxic. Okay, be afraid of that, because naturally women would be attracted to that. All women would be attracted to a masculine man. That's just natural. So if you pathologize black masculinity and say, oh, there's something wrong with it, run away from it, then that'll make women think twice. But we need to just call it what it is. It's propaganda. And for centuries, the American media, from newspapers to Hollywood, used fear of black men as a unifying tool for white society. That's why this whole black fatigue has popped up. Well, you know what? Since America's divided, we're just going to say black fatigue. And now that's kind of failed. So now they have this purple revolution going on, and that's going to fail. These people have unified on coming together to try to do something bad to us and demonizing black people. They've done it for years. Whether we're talking about the Birth of the Nation, that film that glorified the Ku Klux Klan, okay, to today's crime wave headlines and cable news, and it's all the same playbook. But see, now the script is breaking down, because in 2025 you have the internet, you have Al Gore's internet, okay. And it is made possible for people to speak with their own voices, and it's impossible to hide data. White women especially are seeing the violence that has always existed in their homes, in their communities, okay? And in their relationships. And that's what and now they're speaking on it, okay? You see? And what you see happening with white men right now is the thought. Is the thought that they're losing control have them reacting violently, emotionally, politically. They want the sexual control. It's that rage that shows up as DV, as mass pew-pewing, as online harassment, as political extremism. And now even white women are saying it. We're tired. We've got white male fatigue. That's what the white women would say. Don't blame me. I'm just doing the play-by-play. Okay? They ain't none of my business. I would not even be involved in no part of this, except y'all came up with this whole notion of black fatigue, and y'all called us out, even though black folks are sitting on the couch. We told y'all we were not coming outside for none of this. After the campaign was over, the results came back. You did not see black people in the street, but you keep coming to our HBCUs. You're trying to crash our picnics and our cookouts. You want the smoke, but we're not going to give it to you like that. We are not going to confront you in the street because that's what you want. We're going to talk about you right here on this internet. And we're going to change the narrative from right here. As we let you all fight it out with the immigrants and yourselves. You see? You heard that white woman say she feels safer around black men than she does around white men? That is a complete reversal after 400 years of propaganda. That's exactly why you're seeing the backlash get louder, because when the truth starts to spread, lies have to scream to survive. And the system is losing control over the narrative. And the most dangerous thing to a system built on illusion is a population that starts seeing clearly. Shall we? Let's talk about white women. Okay? Because I'm not going to let these white women off the hook. Because the elephant in the room, or maybe I should say, as Bill Burr said, the Gucci booted elephant in the room. He said this, Bill Burr, the famous white comedian, he has a black wife. He said this on Saturday Night Live a few years ago. He said, what did he say? He basically said, he looked right at America and said what most people are afraid to admit. White women have hijacked all the woke movement, as he said. He said they swung their Gucci booted feet over the fence of oppression and planted themselves right in the front of the line. He wasn't lying. That the movement, the woke movement, it was supposed to be black people and other marginalized groups who had no voice. It's supposed to be about us. You see? But white women flipped the script and they turned around and they put on a fantastic performance piece, and suddenly it wasn't about systematic racism anymore. Okay? It was about Starbucks microaggressions and toxic masculinity on X, or at that time, Twitter. And so Bill Burr called it out, and I'm calling out again. He said, you white women stood by us toxic white males, now that you are now suffering from as a result of white fatigue for centuries of their crimes against the other human beings on this planet. And you reap the benefits of it. He literally said you rolled around in the blood money, the social status, the prestige, you got deemed the most beautiful woman in the world, right? You got the riches. You got to be all, everybody wanted to be you. And then, even then, you sneak around and mess around with black men. Even today, there's some college girls right now that slept with a black dude last week, 2 weeks ago. And now she feels bad about it. She wants to say it wasn't consensual. Shout out to Few Quain. Hey, we know that too. So what I'm trying to say, family, is white women were not innocent bystanders in the rise of white supremacy. They were partners in it. They married it, they bore their children, they taught it, they reinforced it, they protected it. They confronted it they comforted it at night. And then they raised its next generation in the morning. When white men went out conquering and lynching and colonizing and essaying, sexually assaulting all the women of the earth, white women kept the home fires burning. They made sure the ideology stayed pure, the bloodline stayed clean, and the lie of white virtue stayed alive. And she knew what her man was doing. She had evidence, even on the plantation. She knew what her man was doing, because 9 months later, this one popped up that looked just like him, but with a little color on him. They knew. They were the teachers of the system. Shout out to Johnny Harris. They literally and figuratively taught this. They raised the sons who became the police officers and the police chiefs and the judges and the senators and the CEOs. They raised the daughters who learned to smile politely while practicing quiet dominance. They were also the primary beneficiaries. White women inherited the land, the homes, the wealth, the reputations, and the social safety that came from white men's brutality against the rest of the world. And the system rewarded them for silence, and they took the deal. So when I hear white women today say they've got white male fatigue, which is basically what you saw, I can't help but say, oh, now you tired? You weren't tired when white men were building empires on stolen bodies and stolen land and stolen gold and stolen wealth. You weren't tired when you were standing in courtrooms pointing your fingers at black men and sending them to the noose. You weren't tired when your fathers and husbands were bombing churches and redlining neighborhoods, and who wrote the Jim Crow law? Huh? You weren't tired when the wealth of this nation, your comfort, your education, your inheritance was soaked in blood. But now, when the empire starts to eat itself, when the monster turns on its own, now you're tired. Now you're exhausted. Now you've got white male fatigue. Look, that's not awakening. That's self-preservation. And Bill Burr said perfectly, why don't you sit down next to me, us toxic white men, and take your talking to? Because see, the truth be told, you can't separate yourself from the men you raise. Okay, black women have been trying to separate themselves from these men that they raised for a few decades now, and people keep putting it back. They keep saying single mother, single mother, single mother. They've been trying to run away from these little Pookie and Ray Rays, and every time they do, single mother raises, single mother. So you can't separate yourself from the men you raised. You shaped them, you validated them, and you excused them, and you laughed at their jokes. You voted for their policies. You believed their superiority because it benefited you. So no, Karen, Susan, Heather, Megan, you don't get to play victim now. You don't get to act like you suddenly saw the light. Okay? The same system that made them arrogant and violent made you comfortable and complicit with that. So the truth is, white women have been the primary beneficiaries of white men's crimes against humanity, from the slave ships to Silicon Valley. You lived in the house that oppression built. You enjoyed the luxuries, and only started complaining when the foundation started cracking beneath your feet. Shout out to MC Recover. So yes, America's white women may be tired of their men, but make no mistake, the world is tired of all y'all, both of y'all. I'm just saying. I know it's some white ladies lip. I'm just saying. Listen to me now, Becky. I want you to hear me. Uncle D is talking to you, because remember, y'all had this black fatigue thing. We were on the couch. We, black people, we were on the couch. We were in the house. And they kept messing with you, going to our universities. You calling us out on the internet. You harassing HBCU. We think y'all trying to lynched a couple of, but look, y'all the one that called us. We was minding our business. We getting ready for Thanksgiving. You understand me? We trying to get our pickled pig feet supplied together because the country cousins are coming over. Y'all harassing us with this black fatigue. We didn't vote for Donald Trump. Well, I did because I wanted to keep my taxes low. But that's me, the good, beautiful, wonderful black people. The loving, caring black people didn't want any of this that's happening right now to happen because they love the world. We are wonderful people. Okay? This ain't our fault, but y'all keep calling us out. So here you go. Okay? This is where we at. Now, here's the thing. As we sit on the couch, I began to wonder, why this pivot? Huh? Why this pivot? Why are white women now pivoting? And let me tell you something about human nature. And history proves this every single time an empire collapses. When the men who built the system begin to lose control of it, the women of that system start to move. And that's exactly what you see happening in 2025 across America. The same white woman who once stood beside white men at the top of the social order are now turning the camera on them, calling them violent, calling them unstable, calling them hypocritical and dangerous. Look, you heard all those TikTok confessionals? Look at some of these formerly known as Twitter. Look at these podcasts. You see it everywhere. White women saying they're tired of white men. They want to date black men. And look, make no mistake, it's not just a cultural movement. That's a civilization shift. Because when the most protected group in the society, white women, start publicly disowning the very men who built and defended the society, it means the foundation is cracking. Now, don't misunderstand what's happening here, okay? This isn't some new moral revolution, or sudden awakening that white women have. It's female survival instinct. It's the oldest law in human history. And see, here's the thing. This whole red pill movement, there's some truth in that. You might not like it. And the problem is you don't have the purists around anymore. See, 15 years ago, when this red pill movement actually started, you didn't have all these interlopers and people who are in it just for money. They never actually studied it. The whole red pill movement is really just about men comparing notes and developing an understanding and facing the truth about what they see. You see? So when I say every red pill man already understands this, or at least he should, okay? Because long before the term red pill became controversial, it's simply a conversation among men about patterns, what we see, what we experience, what we learn about human nature through our relationships and our lives. And one truth we've learned above all is that women are survivors, okay? They go where the protection is. They align with the strongest men. They adapt to the winning side. So when you see white women today criticizing white men in intermarrying with other men, okay, and divorcing white men and not having their children, right, and trying to integrate themselves into new cultural spaces, understand what you're witnessing. This isn't rebellion, it's repositioning. It's not an awakening. It's an adaptation. That's female nature. They realize that their old world is dying and the women of that world are simply moving toward the men who will inherit the next one. And this is not a moral awakening, it's a shift in interest. However, it is a convenient moment to distance themselves from collapsing white male power, because make no mistake, this isn't rebellion born from empathy. It's a rebellion born from fear of being dragged down with those very same men who built the system that they reap the benefit from. Look, before we go any further, I know we got brothers here in the red pill community. And I know that phrase has somehow become a dirty word lately. But let's remember what it really meant in the beginning. Red pill was never about hating women. Okay? It was a conversation among men, a moment of awakening, an honest acknowledgement of our shared experiences with women across race, culture, and class. It was men comparing notes and realizing the patterns we saw in relationships, what we saw in marriage, our common experiences with women in society. They weren't isolated. They were consistent. And we all understand that women are survivors. It doesn't matter if she's rich or poor, if she's African or European or modern or traditional. A woman's nature is to align herself with survival, because she does that for the benefit of her. She goes where she believes her offspring have the greatest chance to live and thrive and be protected. That's not hatred, that's just biology. So when you see white women today turning on white men, calling them violent and dangerous and emotionally unstable, and understand something, that's not just more outrage, that's evolutionary strategy that has been planned out and ingrained in them for thousands of years. That they see what's happening. They see the birth rates are falling and the white populations are shrinking in Europe and in America and Australia and across the Western world in general. They see darker nations, Africans, Asians, Latinos, rising in population and wealth and influence. They see white men turning his rage inward towards himself and his nation through these mass pew-pewings and opioids and and self-deletions and political extremism. And because women are survivors, white women are they're doing what all women have done in every collapsing civilization. They're pivoting. They're realigning. They're choosing new alliances. They're dating and marrying men outside their group. Black men, Latino men, Asian men, Arab men, not out of a sudden enlightenment, but out of instinct. It's not romance, it's survival. It's what women have done throughout history when dominant males lose the grip on power. When an empire falls, the woman moves with the future. Whether it's love or conquest, whether it's consent or coercion, women have always reproduced with the winning side. That's why they call it booty. Okay, the booty and the bounty. You see? That was the spoils of war. And that's how they ensure their bloodline survive. We saw this pattern during the invasions across Europe and Asia. We see it when Arabs conquered North Africa and absorbed its native black population. We saw it during colonialism and when European men took African and indigenous women as concubines and wives. Those women in turn bore the next generation of mixed rulers and intermediaries. And as one of our great historians explained in the book, The Fall, Chancellor Williams, in the destruction of black civilization, this process of genetic and cultural absorption is part of how entire civilizations are erased from history. So understand this. While we should see clearly, okay, we should also see it calmly, okay? What we see happening today is not new. It's nothing new. Not for women. Again, it's not rebellion, it's repositioning. It's not awakening, it's adaptation. Okay? And that being the case, this isn't a moment to hate white women or reject them. No, it's a moment to recognize what's happening. And I believe that we're sophisticated enough to see that, to understand that this is how survival instincts operates and power. And there's some white men that are bailing too. You see all these white men running over to Asia and getting these Asian women in Thailand and the Philippines and China. They're doing the same thing. The old world is dying. White supremacy is on its way out. And so you see the women of that world simply moving toward the men they believe will inherit the new one, okay? And so now that we understand the psychology behind this, let's talk about what these women are actually saying out loud on camera in public about white men, because, when their daughters, when your girls bail, it says a lot. Now, look here. Here's where it gets interesting, okay? When white men and white women start turning on each other like you see them doing, and if you don't believe white men are saying these things about white, go look up MGTOW, MGTOW. Go look that up on the internet. Go look in the depths. Look at what these white men are saying about these white women. So this is a two-way street. They're turning on each other. And see, what you really are watching is the collapse of white solidarity. Okay, the very glue that held this empire together for 400 plus years. You see the power of whiteness was never just in violence, it was in their unity. White men enforced it through control, white women reinforced it through culture. Together, they ran the world, one through the sword, the other through the smile. A white woman can walk in the village of Africa and be accepted. I mean, you can have one white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl, she can walk in a tribe full of Zulus. And she's coming. You see, she won, she did it with a smile. But see, now that alliance is good. The white man would come with the sword and the rifle and the shield. But again, that alliance is cracking. You can see it in politics and the media, and these people can't even get along. Even in their bedrooms, they're not even getting along. White men feel betrayed because white women aren't blindly defending them anymore. And white women feel trapped because the same system that once protected them is now devouring them. And that's not progress. That's an implosion. And whenever an empire starts collapsing from within, it creates what I call a power vacuum. Okay, or what everybody calls it a power vacuum, but it's a power vacuum. And nature hates vacuums. And so does power. So the question is, who's ready to fill it? Because see, if Black America isn't prepared, someone else will be there. History shows it every time. When the Romans fell, the tribes that were prepared took their place. When the British Empire crumbled, America stepped in. When the old guard loses its grip, someone else takes the throne. Now, let me make it plain. The breakdown of white unity isn't something to celebrate. It's something to understand, because chaos without preparation just breeds new oppressors in a different color. Keep that in mind. Do you really want Mexico to take over America? They got people down there hanging from bridges. Do you really want that? Do you want the Chinese? Do you know what they do to their racial minorities in China? What about Russia? Do y'all really want Russia to take over? Huh? Shit. Somebody said shit. I know shit. Well, hey, all the Black people in the audience, somebody say shit. When you hear a group of Black people say shit, that means a lot. That's that community. That's that cultural communication that they say we don't have. Shit. Oh, man. You see, but here's the thing I want you to understand. If we're wise, if we're organized, if we're disciplined, like we are right now, okay, then, you know, this could be a turning point for Black America. You see, it could be a turning point for Black USA. You see, it's a time for us to reclaim our moral authority to build independent institutions and to set up our economic agenda and to raise a generation of young men and young women who understand power, not just protest. And I think they do. Because you don't see them out there just out there banging their fists against brick walls, fighting against the police right now. Our Black children are going about their business, just like their Black parents. So while white America argues over gender politics, while they cancel each other and fight for identity and hierarchy, we need to be quietly building our families and businesses and communities and alliances that outlast their confusion, because power doesn't disappear when one group loses it. It simply moves. And right now the power is shifting. And this is what I call the transfer season. See, when God, history, and consequence start redistributing influence, white America is tearing itself apart from guilt and greed. They're too busy fighting over who's more oppressed to realize they're losing control of the story. And that's where we come in. See, Black America needs to prepare not just to survive the fall of the old order, but to lead in the new one. What that means, okay, is you need to understand economics. You need to master the law. You need to protect our image, right? Which is something I do all the time. Many of you see my broadcast, but you also see some of the work that I do on my other little videos, my little shorts. You see me spending time with my sons. What does that do? That counteracts the narrative that Black fathers are not evolved. You see me offering up scholarships, and you see me, shout out to Fuquan, you see me offering up scholarships. You see me making donations to local organizations that help urban youth, right? You see me doing all that, okay? And the reason you see me doing that is because it helps change our image. So, and you know, and when someone says something negative about me on the internet, what do? I don't go back and forth cursing at them and cutting on. I just go ahead and file that defamation lawsuit. You see? Because I'm not going to sink to that level and I'm not going back and forth with that. I don't do that. You see? I handle it in a way that's dignified. And that's what we need to be conveying, because we're putting ourselves in the place of leadership. The other thing is we need to preserve our families. Okay? Because see, once the smoke is clear, the world will be looking for stability. And we can either be spectators or architects of what comes next. So let them fight. Let them burn their own house down, but we better be the ones already pouring the foundation for the next one. Because when white solidarity collapses, black strategy must rise. So let's talk about what comes after the collapse, because complaining about it, white folks, is not a strategy, it's a distraction. When an empire starts to crumble, the smart nations don't waste time dancing on the ashes. They're already writing the blueprint for what comes next. And that's exactly what the black nation, black America, has to do right now. We've spent decades analyzing the problem. We've marched, we've protested, we've prayed, we've begged. But the truth is, you don't ask fallen empires for permission to rise. You just build higher. So here's what has to happen if we're serious about seizing this moment. We need institutions, not just influencers. Okay? We need churches, hospitals, colleges, etc., museums. We need systems, processes, getting our children educated, getting our children fed, getting our food supplies. Okay? We don't need just slogans. Black Lives Matter. Okay, where's the farm? Where's the business? What'd you do with those millions of dollars? That's just a slogan. Where's the system? And see, every ethnic group that thrives in America does so because they built a system to protect their interests. We did it straight out of slavery. We had our own schools, our own banks. We had our own trade networks. We had our own media outlets, plenty of black newspapers. We had our own think tanks. So we need to renew that. We need to do it again. That means we need to fund our own schools. We need to definitely fund our own HBCUs and medical schools and hospitals and flight training schools and mechanics and engineering and plumbing. We need all that. We need to teach our own real history, not this revisionist crap, this guilt management history that they have. It means we need to get our black-owned banks back. We need to get real estate. We need to have people mastering technology so that our children can inherit assets, not just hashtags. And it means creating legal institutions, think tanks, PACs, and advocacy groups that can shape policy, not just react to it. And see, if we don't build the infrastructure to sustain ourselves, we'll keep being the emotional laborers of America, crying at every injustice, but never owning the solution. See, power isn't just about money, okay? It's about meaning. Whoever controls the narrative controls the people. That's why Hollywood and academia and the media have spent decades rewriting who we are. See, they don't fear our anger, they fear our clarity. Okay? And so we have to own our image. That means supporting our filmmakers, our artists, our podcasters, our journalists, the truth tellers who represent us authentically. The ones who make us look good, not the ones who make us look bad. Not the ones who are caricatures of black people and black excellence. Not the ones who cause chaos. Okay? The one who's are paid to perform. And we need to also stop letting outsiders tell our story, because every stereotype they spread weakens our moral standing, and every distortion they publish makes us easier to control. Culture isn't just entertainment. It's a defense mechanism. And if we don't defend it, they'll use it to destroy us from the inside out. Now, the other thing we need to focus on is our moral realignment, okay? And this is part spiritual, okay? It's not religious, because no nation rises without a moral code. We've got to return to the values that anchor power in discipline, integrity, and purpose. You got to rebuild the black family. The foundation of every strong community is the family. And if we have to stop letting this culture of confusion and hedonism become our identity. The legacy comes from structure, from men leading with strength and restraint, from women building with discernment and respect, and from children being raised in homes where love and order coexist. And see, this isn't about religion, it's about restoration, because you can't build an empire if your people are spiritually broken, okay? And again, the politics, and there's always going to politics, it's not about feelings, it's about interest. Vote your interest. Every other group seems to understand this. They fund the candidates who serve them. They lobby, they vote as a block. They make sure the agendas are written into the law. Meanwhile, we've been voting for people who give us nothing but symbolism instead of substance. That needs to stop. Okay? We need to build our own political machines, whether it's local, regional, national. We need to be able to hold both parties or all parties accountable. They need to deliver tangibles. They need results. That's what we need. And when they do, we engage. But it needs to be transactional. No more loyalty in politics. No tangibles, no support. That's it. The other thing is, family, we got to get out of this microwave philosophy. We need to begin to play the long game. Every empire that lasts has one thing in common. They plan for the next century, not just an election. We've got to teach our children that legacy isn't just about fame, it's about foundation. We have to prepare them to inherit. You see? A strategy needs to be put in place. And if we train a generation that can think and lead and build and not just react, then our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren will thank us for being the ones who stopped begging and started building. Okay? Here's the other thing. You know, some of you all are saying, wow, Black people, oh my God, why would you all, no one wants you to lead. Well, look, I'm gonna tell you like this. We're the only ones capable of leading. What do I mean by that? Let me make something clear to everybody watching this broadcast tonight. I want you to look at me, right in my eyes. Every race, every tongue of people on this planet knows one thing that is true about Black people. Number one, let me say it like this, it's time for us to lead, and that's not arrogance. It's an appointment earned through endurance. Because if you scan the timeline of human history, from the rise of empires to their bloody collapses, only one people have absorbed every form of oppression and still refuse to become the oppressor. That's us. Europe's age of conquest turned the globe red. From 1492 forward, Spain, Portugal, they trafficked 12 million Africans through the transatlantic slave trade. In the Congo Free State from 1885 to 1908, King Leopold II of Belgium, he ruled, this is his little African playground. This man killed an estimated 10 million Black Africans. Shout out to Black Sand. 10 million Congolese. He cut their hands off for not making their rubber quota. They had rubber trees down there, and if they didn't bring enough rubber, they didn't bring enough rubber for the day, he would cut their hand. He would cut their children's hands off. This is what they did. Britain and France divided Africa with the Berlin Conference in 1884 and 1885. They literally drew borders that still fuel wars today. Shout out to Johnny here. This is what they did. The Africans didn't have anything to do with that. Europe also devoured itself. Hundreds of years, they had something called 100 Years' War from 1337 to 1453 between France and England. Just endless struggles amongst the Vikings and the Saxons and the Normans. They just slaughtering each other. They did it in World War II from 1914 to 1918. In World War, that was World War I, and in World War II, 1939 and 1945. And when the Yahtzee party in Germany, these people exterminated 6 million Ashkenazi Jews. That's white people, more white people. Millions more Roma and Poles. They don't even talk about that. Why? Because they wanted to have this racial empire. And look, yeah, that's Europe. But what about the Arabs? They don't deserve to rule because they built their empires on bondage. It began in the 7th century. The Islamic caliphates expanded across North Africa and the Middle East. They had something called the Umayyad, 1661 to 1750, and the Abbasid, 1750 to 1258, caliphates. These are caliphates. Basically, it's when they take over land in the name of their religion. They enslaved Africans. They castrated black men. They turned black women into concubines, and then they would unalive the babies, literally stomped them to death under their heel. They turned entire populations into concubines and soldiers. And by the 8th century, the Arab slave trade had reached as far as India and China and lasted for over 1,000 years. 1,000 years, 1,000 years longer than the Atlantic slave trade. In the 7th century, their conquest of Jerusalem in 636. And later that Abbasid and the Ottoman expansions, the millions across the Levant and North Africa were unalived and displaced. Look, that's the Arabs, the Europeans, the Arab, the Asians. Okay, and Asia's dynasties, they're written in blood. Whether we talk about from 1206 to 1368, Genghis Khan and his descendants carved the Mongol Empire through massacres. They wiped out tens of millions across Central Asia, Persia, China, whole cities leveled in a day. You know, 4% of the Asian population is related to Genghis Khan because he did so much graping. He raped all those women. 4% of the population that exists today is related to Genghis Khan. That's a lot of blood. That's a lot of carnage. So do they deserve to rule? And then if you look at centuries later, the Imperial Japan, their conquest in 1931 in China and in the South Pacific, these people killed 20 million civilians. You think racism is bad? Asians are racist against other Asians. We call them all Asians, but they differentiate between themselves and they do horrible things to each other. So don't let this facade fool you. What about the Indian continent? It still bears the scars of partition with Britain. And when Britain pulled out in 1947, religious violence broke out. You always talk about Gandhi. But what about that violence that existed between India and Pakistan that left 1 to 2 million people unalived? Everywhere you look, Europe, Asia, the Middle East, you see conquest and colonization and bloodshed as the foundation of empire. And then there's us. You can't find one people anywhere on this earth who can say we were enslaved and colonized and destroyed by black men. Can you? Not one. Even when Africa ruled itself through kingdoms such as Mali from 1235 to 1600, and Songhai from 1464 to 1591, and Congo from 1390 to 1914, and Kush and Nubia. Our power was built on trade and art and scholarship, not on global domination. We didn't sail the oceans to take other people's children as slaves and hostages. We didn't build concentration camps or carve borders through other nations and lands. We built civilizations that taught mathematics and medicine and navigation to the very people who would later enslave us. See, despite the horrors inflicted on us from the Middle Passage to Jim Crow, to today's mass incarceration and the remnants of that, our hands remain clean of empire. We never repaid evil with evil. We never wrote history in other people's blood. And that's why we stand as the only people on the planet who can speak about moral leadership without hypocrisy. God has always kept one nation whose compassion survives power. And that nation is not perfect, but preserved. And we survived everybody and never became like anybody. We didn't build our world order on chains of conquest. We endured, we forgave, and we still create. So when I say it's time for Black people to lead, I'm talking about restoration, not revenge. Because the world has had its fill of conquerors. It's time for builders and healers and truth tellers. The hands that once built the empires will now build our own. The minds that once labored for profit will now labor for our people. And the souls that refuse to bow to hate will finally stand in divine authority. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. And history itself is turning that page. The age of conquest is ending. The age of righteousness is beginning. And we are the people who are destined to lead. Now, I have some more work to do. Okay, I have to speak to you all and close this things out. I want to thank everybody who's contributed to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. We only have 19 Super Chat. Did you learn something tonight? Did you learn something? If you learned something tonight, hit the number 1 button. If you learned something tonight, hit the number 1 button. If you learned something tonight, hit the number 1 button. Let me know. I need to know. Because otherwise, I got to do a better job. But if you did learn something tonight, hit the number 1 button. Okay? In the meantime, I'm going to go about my business of thanking the people who contribute to the Cash App. Shout out to Francesca, and shout out to, let's see, who else do we have in here? We got 1 Super Chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Shout out to Rosalind Rayford and Willie Brown, Nora Scott, and Sheila Iverson. Thank you, Nicole Causey. I appreciate you, Juanita Walker. And I appreciate you guys too. And now we're gonna go ahead and the Cash App is running across the bottom of the screen. We got 20 Super Chats. That's good. Let's see if we can get a few more. Again, you don't owe me anything. Okay? I'm not out here begging. I'm doing work. I'm earning mine. If you learn, because money is hard to come by. I'm not gonna be out here not begging. I'm working hard. And, I like teaching you things the time period that we're in. You need to hear these things. All that death and gloom and depression, we're gonna be all right. It's not gonna be easy, but we're gonna be all right. We've been through too much. God loves us. We're wonderful people. Let's go ahead and talk to the people. We got 21 Super Chats. Let's see if we can get to 25. If we can get to 25 Super Chats, that'll be all right with me. Shout out to Fuquan. Brother, I hope I'm saying your name right. Fuquan for the $5 super sticker. Thank you, Timothy Humphrey, for the $3 super sticker. Thank you, Fuquan, again. I appreciate you. You are elite. We need to make Fuquan a hero of the day. Thank you so much, Mr. KJ Smooth. Thank you for the $1.99 super sticker. Fuquan, thank you also again. Miss Tech Not and Fancy, showing some love. Thank you for the love, baby girl. I appreciate you. Urban Eagle, my brother from way back. Good looking out, man. Thank you so much. Good to have you here. Fuquan, thank you so much. Thank you so much again, Fuquan. And Animal Advocate. Yeah, man, you jumped in there when you heard about these poor animals. Yeah. I have nightmares hearing these things, and humanity is, it's real, man. That's sad. Black saying, what's up, what's up? They think they are gods, no limits. They love slavery at any type. Fuquan, good looking out, family. I appreciate you also again. Johnny Harris, what's up, man? As usual, you are on target. Here's 140 for you from very beginning of this great nation, the U.S. We only had true peace for only 16 years for boys. Yeah, our country has not, I think it's 200 and something years. We've only had peace for about 12 years, 16 years. You're accurate about that. My man, MC Recovery, man, you're sure so right. Then this wokeism changed funding stream of a large amount of our LA County agencies. Our meeting topic changed. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. Always my homeboy from Compton, California. Thank you so much, Black Sand. A vote is like a bribe. Thank you so much, Johnny Harris. Totally true, Fuquan. Good looking out. Thank you again, Fuquan. Devin Mitchell, thanks for the information, sir. No problem, Black Sand. Appreciate you. Man, I will say this, man. I appreciate everybody for the super chats. Back in the day, when I first started doing this, I would always have, I would have panels after this, but you get a little older, you get tired. I can't stay with you all goddamn night and go back and forth with you guys. But I do miss the camaraderie that we used to have back 4 or 5 years ago when I would have all the fellas hang out, and people like my man Urban Eagle would come through. We would always have all the guys. So shout out to all the Ice Lords. Shout out to all the Ice Lords who've been with me for years. I appreciate it. We've been telling the cold, hard truth for a long time. You see what I mean? And I started off as an advocate for Black men. And of course, I still am an advocate for Black men. But I began to expand my advocacy because at this particular time, our people need their best voices. They need people who are not going to hold their tongue. They need people who can adequately speak and defend. You got this whole movement of people talking about black fatigue, black fatigue, black fatigue. What are y'all doing? You setting us up to try to take us down? We're not going to go down without a fight. You can talk, I can talk too. We were sitting on the bench. We were at home on our couch, minding our business. And after we had voted against the chaos you see, right? Not all of us, because again, Uncle D is, I can deal with racism. What I can't deal with is being broke. You understand me? So, but I voted my interest, all right? And I would have voted for Kamala Harris if she would have made sure my taxes were low. But the bottom line is, family, at this particular time, it's my responsibility to speak on behalf of all of our people and advocate for all our positions. Because it's necessary, because the world is attacking us right now. Now that said, let's go ahead and get down. We got 21 super chats. Shout out to everybody who contributed to the super chat. We might get a few more before I finish, and that'll be cool too. If you guys want to chime in and shoot the super chat up, it'd be great to get 25. That'll be live. But nevertheless, let's do this. When we step back and look at everything we've covered tonight, okay, you start to see the full picture. See, it's not just about history, but prophecy unfolding real time. See, for centuries, white men built their world on domination, conquering land, language, labor, legacy. White women stood beside them, sometimes victims, sometimes enforcers, because they had something called the casual killing laws that had to be passed to protect white women from the dirt they were doing to our ancestors. Okay? Nevertheless, they were always participants in the system. Shout out to Fuquan. Good looking out. We got 22 super chats. We might get to 25. That'll be live. But only if you learn something. But now, okay, now the very system is crumbling. Not because anybody overthrew it. Okay? We didn't get invaded by Russia or China or anything like that. No, it's collapsing because truth always collapses lies under its own weight. And we're watching the collapse of white solidarity, the unraveling of a myth that's held the world hostage for 500 years. So see, you see it in the anger of white men who no longer feel worshiped. You see it in the fatigue of white women who are finally calling these white men out. You see it in the political chaos. in the moral confusion and desperation of the society trying to hold on to power, it can no longer justify. I mean, Washington is in chaos right now. You got white folk cussing each other out and suing each other. Crazy. It's unheard of. There's no statesman-like conduct. It's every man for himself. It's a money grab. But see, in that collapse, a vacuum opens. A moral, cultural, and spiritual vacuum. Nature hates a vacuum, and so does God. And the question before all humanity right now is simple. Who will fill it? And as I said, we walked through the history tonight. The Europeans carved the world with blood from 1492 onward. The Spanish and the Portuguese, they baptized human bondage. The Arabs enslaved Africans for millennia. The Mongols burned cities in Asia to ash. The Yahtzee party, they industrialized genocide. The British and the French, look, we don't want them being charged anything. They've been dividing up continents and fighting each other when there were no continents to divide. The endless wars between these English and the French and the Germans and the Russians and the Indians and the Pakistanis. Human history is soaked in conquest. Every race, every race, every empire has had its moment in blood except one, Black people, globally. We've been the world's labor, the world's conscience, the world's warming. We built the pyramids and we watch others take credit for it. We tilled the fields and watch others take the harvest. We've survived slavery, segregation, subrogation, and still never became like the people who did it to us. We didn't repay oppression with empire. We didn't answer hatred with the Holocaust. We didn't trade chains for crowns. That's why I said, and I'll say it again, our hands are clean. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm just saying they're clean. Clean of conquest, clean of colonization, clean of genocide. And see, in that cleanliness lies our calling. The same way the world once looked to Europe for science and Asia for philosophy, it will now have to look at Black people for morality, for restoration, and for renewal. Because while others built kingdoms on corpses, we built culture out of pain. While others erased names, we made our names eternal. And while others justified cruelty as destiny, we still believe in compassion, in the compassion as our power. So in this moment of reckoning, that's what it is. It's not a moment of vengeance. It's about realignment. The age of the oppressor is ending. The age of righteousness is beginning. And those with clean hands are the ones who once fit to lead what comes next. Now, that we understand who we are and what we've endured and why our hands are clean, the question becomes, what do we do with that purity? Because being righteous without being ready won't change the world. Shout out to Black saying. Being innocent without being organized won't move mountains. And having clean hands doesn't mean a thing if we don't start building with it. And this is not the time to celebrate survival. It's time to build sovereignty. It's time for Black America to rise from being the moral voice of the world to becoming the moral leaders of the world. Okay? And to do that, we need a blueprint, not a dream, not a plan. Our ancestors survived without institutions because they had faith. But we must thrive with institutions because we have wisdom. We need schools that teach our children truth, not propaganda. Banks that invest in our communities, not exploit us. Media networks that define our image instead of distorting it. We need churches. We need mosques. We need temples that produce builders, not beggars. Just as they built Oxford and Cambridge, right? They to sustain their culture, and Jewish people built the yeshivas, and I believe it's pronounced yeshivas, to preserve their law. You know, the Asians built family networks to circulate their wealth. We need to build systems to make our survival self-sufficient. And if they can create empires through greed, then we can create legacies through discipline. Okay? See, our culture is a software that runs any civilization. And for too long, we've let others write our code. They profit off our music, but demonize our men. They copy our rhythm, but erase our pain. They dress like us, talk like us, but never stand with us. And that ends now. From Hollywood to hip hop, from fashion to film, from the algorithm to the art form, we are going to have to reclaim and control our narrative, because whoever controls the image controls the imagination. And whoever controls the imagination controls the future. We can't allow the descendants of the colonizers to tell us what representation looks like. We have to create, fund, distribute our own image, okay? Because image is power, and you understand me? Okay? And we want to be seen as dignified, okay? We can't let other people continue to denigrate us like that. The world has had its fill of power without principle. Okay, every empire that rolls on blood eventually drowned in it, whether we're talking about Rome, Britain, Germany, Japan, and you see it now, America. They all fail because they worship dominance instead of decency. And our leadership must be different. We need to lead not with bombs, but with balance. Okay, not with fear, but with faith, not with greed, but with grace. We need to show the world what real strength looks like. And that comes from restraint. The real power is not domination, but discipline. And that's the highest form of civilization. It's not how high you can build your buildings, but how many humans, how human you can remain when you reach the top. A lot of people right now, they get rich and they acting brand new. You make them, you build them up, and now they want to talk down to you from the lofty position that you put them in. But let me lay this on y'all. Every black man and woman has a responsibility in this next chapter. Fellas, it's time for you to stand as builders and protectors and providers, not just for your families, but for our people. Women, ladies, it's time for you to stand as healers, as nurturers, and as vision keepers. The ones who raise the future generations of men and women with a new moral order. And this is not about ego, it's about legacy. The same way Moses led the Israelites out of bondage, we're the generation chosen to lead the world out of chaos. But to do that, we need to unite. Politically, economically, and spiritually. No more of these petty divisions. We need to end this gender war. Too many people trying to take us out for us to keep fighting amongst each other. We can't fight forward and backward at the same time, I'm telling you. That's not how this works. All these people keeping this gender war going, it's not going to be a good end. Cut it out. The other thing is, stop waiting for validation from other folk. Stop begging other people who need our forgiveness more than we need their approval. We don't need them. We're good. Our ancestors carried the cross of the world's sins for centuries. And now it's time we carry the crown of the world's renewal. We are not here to imitate their empires. We're here to replace them, okay? We're not here to take revenge. We're here to restore balance. We're not here to ask for a seat at the table, because the new table will be ours, built by our own hands, guided by our own spirit, under the authority of our own God. That's the charge. See, brothers and sisters, the world has had its conquerors, and now it's time for its custodians. The ones with clean hands, clear vision, and unbreakable souls, and we've proven that. And so as I close tonight, I'll say this: we're not just witnesses to history. We are its next authors. And this time the story ends with righteous rule. Let me tell you something, man. The world has already seen what men can build out of greed and what nations become when fear is their fuel, and what power looks like when it forgets the face of God. Now it will see what happens when faith and discipline and vision guide a people who've carried the weight of the world without ever dropping their humanity. See, we're the children of survivors and the architects of what comes next. Every field our ancestors tilled, every hymn they sang, every march they made was a down payment on this moment right now. The debt is paid. The inheritance is due. So let the old world crumble under the weight of its lies, and let the new world rise, brick by brick, law by law, song by song, built by clean hands, steady hearts, and the minds that remember who we are. We will lead not just because the world allows it, but because history demands it. And when the next generation asks how the righteous rebuilt the earth, they will speak our names. And they'll say, they were the ones who turned pain into purpose, who turned labor into legacy, and who turned survival into sovereignty. This is Uncle D. I love you all. And as I always say at this time, I'm out.
In the Spurling podcast. Hit the like button, subscribe.
Mm-hmm.